Well, all right, everybody, we're back with another short video lecture on Con Law 1. I'm Rob Dawalt. I put my private email address up here for you. So you have the email and the phone number in the syllabus. Plus, you can always check me at robdawalt@me.com. Also, we're going to talk this time about U.S. versus Curtis Wright, and then we're going to move on and talk a little bit about how to shepherdize that case and talk about why it's important and some future developments that come out of that case, and then try to explain to you how to go ahead and check things yourself. So United States versus Curtis Wright Export Corporation, that case was decided in 1936, but it actually happened in the time period leading up to 1936. The actual full citation is 299 U.S. 304, 299 U.S. And then the page number is 304. And then, like I said, the date, 1936. Now, let me say to you that if you're going to actually write a brief on this case, it is always important to include all this information. Now, some of you have just thrown me, facts and issue and things like that, but there needs to be always a heading. So it's U.S. v. Curtis Wright. 299 is the volume number. So in your mind, think of a book. This is book number 299, okay? This is the United States Reporter. That's the reporter that the Supreme Court puts out. They put out these books so that lawyers can read them, okay? And this is page number 304. That's not a very good 4. But also, as a way of indicating, how to find it if you need to find it again, it would be in the year 1936, okay? So always include that information at the top of your paper before you start your brief. That's one of the big things I've been noticing. I usually would say just go ahead and center it at the top and then put United States versus Curtis Wright Export Corporation, 299 U.S. 304, 1936. Now, this case is interesting for a lot of reasons. These were perilous times in the 30s. First of all, we had the Depression. We needed jobs for people. So this Curtis Wright company was actually exporting guns, so somebody had to make those guns. So if they made those guns in the United States, that was jobs for American people, okay? But the issue is, do we want them making devices like this that could be dangerous, could be harm others, could make the country unstable, and so it could be dangerous to be making these guns and selling guns to foreign countries. So there was a resolution passed by Congress and also agreed to by the President, and it was a joint resolution that they weren't going to allow exporting of weapons to Bolivia, little country of Bolivia, okay? So this case concerned more or less revolutionary things that were going on in the country of Bolivia. And some of the issues that we were getting in, even back then, was communism. We were getting into the Nazi aspect. So there's a lot of competition of ideas in the 1930s. A lot of workers were unhappy in Germany, in Europe, in the United States, South America, a lot of different places around the world. And so they were, calling for changing the government, and this caused the economy to become unstable, and so that's why we had this Great Depression. And a lot of the whole Depression can be put at the feet of the effects of World War I in terms of the requirements that were put on the country of Germany. It was said that you could take a bushel basket full of German marks, which is what they called money, to the grocery store, and you couldn't even buy a loaf of bread. You could have a whole basket full of money, wouldn't even buy you a loaf of bread. And this was because gold from the country of Germany was having to be given to the French as what we call war reparations. And this, the thing these countries didn't realize is they're still thinking in medieval thoughts and not thinking in the global industrialized societies that we have today, where it's all linked globally. There's a global economy. This was even starting to happen back then. So if some country has people starving to death that was normally, building great ships, eyeglasses, microscopes, periscope. I mean, you name it. Anything that had to do with ground glass, the Germans were really good at that. Glasses, anything like that. They were a very productive country, made good products. But the problem that they got into is they couldn't capitalize on the things that they were making because the value of their money had gone down to nothing. So they became desperate. They resorted by trying something radically different, which was Hitler. That's what happens. If your country becomes totally unstable, then you resort to trying different things. And even on a larger scale, South America was this way. Very revolutionary. The people were unhappy. They'd been this way for many years because of the way that the whole society was structured from day one. It was kind of still feudalistic from way back in the Middle Ages. We'd grown out of that in England, United States, and many of the countries, but some of the countries like Spain and so forth were still kind of running on a feudal type system. We could go way back in history and talk about why Spain had the problems. Actually, Spain had been invaded by the Moors, which is Muslims, and it's amazing how much Islam, the Muslim religion, has had an effect on our society. Been largely ignored in our history, but it affected their economics, and they spread that whole system to South America. And so basically the Catholic Church was trying to battle against the Muslims, and in the course of that they became a highly structured society, and it was not necessarily good because they lacked the real freedom to do new things, think of new ideas. So what they ended up doing is they passed right by democracy and freedom and went into a totalitarian type state. So it was kind of a whipsaw from one kind of totalitarian state to another, and this made the small individual unhappy, and then they were never satisfied. And we have a big advantage in this country because we have been able to maintain stable society pretty much, except for the Civil War, for the entire existence of this country. And so basically, hopefully we learned something from our Civil War, and one of them was, to try to avoid, war at any cost. So that's why we had the situation that arose with U.S. versus Curtis Wright Export Corporation. And there is a time and a place for war, there's no question about it. World War II was what we call a good war because we had no choice. We were put in a position where we had to stop aggression by these other big powers, Japan, Germany, and to a lesser extent Italy. And so basically this was an early step toward this world war that we were going to be in, is this unrest in Bolivia. And so the Congress and FDR was kind of following an isolationist path during this time, and so they did not want to get involved in trade with some of these countries because we didn't want to contribute to a revolution or instability in the world. So that's kind of why this was. The court, which by the way at that time consisted of one member from Marion, Indiana, was Van de Vanner was his name. He was involved in this court. The head or Chief Justice was Hughes, H-U-G-H-E-S, Oliver Wendell Hughes. And so basically this is a very famous court, and they voted 7-1 in favor of the president. And largely the point here is the president didn't want this Curtis Wright company to sell machine guns to Bolivia, and so they were actually charged with a crime, and they had a place called, it's either Chaco or Caco, at C-H-A-C-O, where there was an armed conflict in Bolivia, and so there was a violation of law, and Roosevelt filed these charges. They tried to fight back. Curtis Wright did, by bringing this appeal, and their appeal was struck down 7-1 because the basic notion, and why we're even talking about this, is the president tends to have large amounts of power in foreign policy decision making. And so even though it could adversely affect the employees of this company in this country during a really bad time because of the Depression, he felt like it was better for the whole country and really for the whole world not to get engaged in gun running into Bolivia or into some of these other countries. So that was a very important decision, and it recognized again that when it comes to foreign affairs, the U.S. Supreme Court is pretty much going to support the president most of the time. So in other words, what they're saying is the central government has to have a certain amount of leeway to take the lead, and the president is more or less the head of that central government. So the federal government is in charge of foreign affairs, and so that is why that was important. Well, okay, so what I want to do is I want to go on and talk a little bit about Shepard's here today, and you need to go to the left tab on your computer, and you might take some notes on this. Go to the left tab on your computer and click on Library Resources. Library Resources. So you go to Library Resources, okay? Okay, so you click on that, and then the next thing you click on the left tab of the library website, you click on Research, okay? And then you go Databases, A to Z, okay? And then you go, I don't know what that is, but that's not good. And then you go, you click on L, okay? And L is for LexisNexis, and that will pop up next, okay? LexisNexis, okay? And so then when you get into LexisNexis, what it wants your ID and password. It is your same IU East ID and password, okay? So if you're going to LexisNexis, it's IU East ID and password goes in that. So then you click on a little box that says OK, and you should get in. When you get in, I'm going to have to clear some of this off here again. When you get in, choose U.S. Legal, okay, on the left again. You keep looking at these little tabs on the left and click on U.S. Legal, okay? Then click on Shepard's, okay? Click on Shepard's. So you click on Shepard's Citation, you'll see a box. It's going to come up, it's going to look like this, and then there's another box that's like that. Okay, so what you need to do then is you need to put the full citation of the case, Curtis Wright versus U.S., or U.S. versus Curtis Wright. And so in this box right here that you're going to see, when you get to that point, you go 299 U.S., okay, 304. That's all you need. 299 U.S. 304, and then click here, okay, click on that, and then it should take you to a sheet, okay, and it's going to talk a little bit about the Curtis Wright case at the top in the Shepard's. But what I want you to do is I want you to go and find, now this is for extra credit, you're going to get extra points for this. Find the case of Arizona versus United States, okay? And that is, there's no U.S. citation yet. That's a 2012 case, okay? So what you're looking for is Arizona v. U.S., okay? And in that case, I'm going to give you the citation on that. Now this is a Supreme Court citation. That's all we got to go by right now. This is a West product, so it's a different reporter than U.S., but it's all we got until they come out with a new volume, because it's a new case, 2492. That's 2492. So it's 132, Supreme Court, 2492, page 2492, okay? And so you just click on that when you find it, where it says Arizona. You just need to click here, click, okay? And that will take you to the case. Brief, Arizona v. U.S., okay? I want you to brief Arizona v. U.S. for extra credit points. And what you're going to find in there, and why this is important, is this shows you that the law in U.S. v. Curtis Wright is still good. The U.S. v. Curtis Wright case is still good law because it's quoted in a positive manner in Arizona versus United States. Now this is not, you guys, or some of you, this is about illegal immigration, about how Arizona should have the right, blah, 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 blah. That's not true, but under the 10th Amendment, they claim they had the right to make their own laws. I don't know where they're finding their lawyers down there. They really don't understand con law at all. Basically, the Constitution clearly says when it comes to any kind of international affairs like this, it is the power of the United States, not the several states, because you got states that are going to be running around willy-nilly and doing things just like Arizona, which, they're not thinking straight. So basically, what they're saying is, the government of the United States, this is a quote from Arizona versus U.S., the government of the United States has broad, undoubted power over the subject of immigration. Now this is basically a Republican Supreme Court that's saying this. The majority of the members are Republicans. They are saying that the basically government of the United States makes these kind of decisions, not the states. Basically, yes, there is this 10th Amendment. Those powers not specifically given to the United States are reserved to the states. But the powers are specifically given in the Articles of the Constitution. So that's why this is important. There was power existing in the Constitution for FDR and the Congress to stop sending rifles to Bolivia, and the same power exists over the ability to stop immigrants from coming into the United States. The fact that they're coming into Arizona is only a subpart in that, and so it's up to the federal government to decide how do we resolve this issue of illegal immigration. And so the things that they're doing right now is being decided by the whole country, not by single states. And that's a very important constitutional idea. And so basically, as I said, we were in some rather perilous times in the 1930s. It can be argued that we're in perilous times today. We continue to have to fight this war on terrorism. The country is basically being invaded by a number of people. Why are they coming here? Well, they want a better life for themselves and for their family. That's why immigrants have always come to the United States. My family was German, primarily on my father's side, came here to get away from the Catholics that were invading Germany. At the same time, my mother's family was from England. They had nothing, so they had an opportunity to come to the United States to try to better themselves. And so, this is the history of the United States. This goes on. Well, is there a point where we exceed our ability to support, all these people? That is the question. But is the question to be settled by the Congress according to our Constitution? So that's where we're leading with this. We start clear up here. We talk about something from the 30s, but we are talking now an important thing, and my final word to you for today is the word precedent, okay? And so what we're saying is this U.S. versus Curtis Wright is a precedent, okay, under the concept what we call stare decisis, S-T-R-E-D-E-C-I-S-I-S, which is the Latin for precedent, okay? What it really means is let the decision stand. Let the decision stand. So basically what they're saying is Arizona versus U.S. said, we're going to let U.S. versus Curtis Wright stand. Okay, so that's how this works, is one case builds as part of the next case. So what we're saying is we decided this is the way we're going to go. The federal government has great power in international issues. And so that applies in this immigration issue, so we're going to apply it in the same way. Hope you understood that. Hope you got something out of this. You may disagree. You may agree. It's really not important whether you agree or disagree. I'm just saying that's how it is. And so hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. We'll be back soon with another video lecture. Thank you.